On this week's show, we're discussing Gears of War finally heading to PlayStation this summer. The Xbox Handheld has been leaked again, but officially this time. The reviews for Doom: The Dark Ages, all the fallout from the Grand Theft Auto 6 year-long delay, but we did get a new trailer, and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to your weekly gaming show, the GamerGuild Podcast, where we get together to round up all of the week's video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Just search for GamerGuild TV or the GamerGuild Podcast and you will find us there every Monday live. It goes up 8 a.m. for your listening or viewing pleasure. Your podcast players for the week are myself, Chris, at Arcane Rogue on social media, and the ever-returning man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
How do you officially leak something?
Oh, we'll get into that.
Leaked or official?
It's officially leaked. It's leaked by official channels, to be very specific. But yes, we've got a great show lined up for you all, so don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring-a-ding-ding that bell so you're kept in the loop with all the great content we do here at GamerGuild TV, like this very show, like our weekly live streams, like our ClickerCast show, which is our weekly breakdown of every episode of HBO's The Last of Us series, which is coming to its end now. We're past the midway point. It's getting very exciting. I'm expecting, Richie, a very bumper condensed couple of 3 weeks of shit really going down, starting tonight, and then obviously we'll be here live on Wednesday breaking it all down for everyone. You enjoying it so far?
I am. My issue is after next week's episode I'm going to have to go mute on social media because I'm away for a week. I'm not going to be watching it till I get home. So it's like, I want to avoid any spot, especially because we're so deep in the show. Mm-hmm. It's like, I mean, I know the general plot of what's going to happen, but do I? Because they keep making the changes. When will we see the Eugene episode?
Anything can happen, but it's been a great series so far, and I do appreciate everyone who's tuned in and checked out, because we do know it's very different to the usual content on the channel. We will, of course, be back to playing games with you, wonderful audience, every Thursday as per tradition, once the ClickerCast and The Last of Us is wrapped up for Season 2. If you are interested in some gaming, though, Richie's playthrough of Pokemon Blue, the OG, is still ticking over. It's up to episode, I want to say 5 right now, Richie, give or take?
Yeah, it's either 5 or 6. I'd have to check off the top of my head, which I've got about, I think it's about 7 of episodes recorded and available for members. Mm-hmm. But I'm not quite sure which ones. They're all scheduled for non-members. Oh, so I was trying to get them all, because as I said, I'm going away for a week. So I was trying to get them banked up so they're still coming out when I'm away.
So, folks, if you got to catch them all, they're available now to members early, but fear not, they'll be out trickling along to you soon enough. So of course,
episode 4 is already out at the time of recording. Episode 5 will be out this Thursday at the time you're listening to this, and 6 and 7 are available for members.
There we go, wonderful stuff. Go get your pokey fills. Richie, you've got a busy show lined up for everyone, but of course, we like to start every show reminiscing about what we've been playing this past week. So do fill our audience in on what you've been up to.
So mainly playing a bit of Oblivion. I haven't played as much as I would have liked this week because I've been doing some DIY around the house, trying to get some stuff sorted before I go away, because we want to paint, but there's the walls up the stairs was just atrocious with little divots and dents, and the people who had the house before us have done like a kind of bodge job, just painted directly over things like where the polyfill rather than sanding it down. So I've been trying to put quite a bit of effort into sorting that, which is still not done, but it will be before we go away. But so it's mainly just been a bits of Oblivion here and there. So I am actually trying to get the platinum in Oblivion.
How does it look?
And it's not too bad, actually, the platinum, because it's only like Fighters Guild, Thieves Guild, Mages Guild, Dark Brotherhood, Arena, and Story.
Right.
So it's no real side quests or anything, or weird miscellaneous combat trophies or max leveling things. So I reckon I'll get it.
Get it done. And then anything in the pipeline after the fact?
I've probably still got a good month of Oblivion left, I reckon.
Oh, so still quite a chunk.
Because I'm about 2/3 the way through the Dark Brotherhood. And I've done the Thieves Guild. Then I'm going to start a new character to do the rest. Just a character so it suits what I'm doing a bit better. So probably a couple of weeks to a month left when I get back, and then I'll decide at the time.
See what's up next.
Clay Obscure's definitely on the list.
Yeah, it's kind of chipping away. I know a couple of folks in our Discord server have been kind of just like singing its praises. I know a couple of them have even platinumed it already or finished it, and I know Tom of the podcast has also just started it as well. It was his birthday yesterday, actually, so happy birthday, Tom.
Happy birthday, Mr. Tom.
But yeah, it's one of them where I'm hearing so much stuff about it, and I'm reluctant to start it purely because I'm still deep in Assassin's Creed Shadows. So I'm about 35 hours in, 40 hours in, but I'm starting to make a big dent into, like the world of, like every time you speak to any human being, it gives you another circle of people to go and assassinate. I feel like I've got all circles open to me now, because it does happen like every single time, and it cuts that menu and it reveals another ring of 6 people. It's like, oh, for Japan's sake, I'm trying to kill everyone here. But yeah, I'm making a big dent in it. The story's progressing. But yeah, that Claire Obscura is just like in the background going, Game of the Year, play me. So I feel like I really will enjoy it. Kind of similar to how I jumped on the Final Fantasy wagon with 16 and was like, wow, this is epic. Obviously, it's a bit more turn-based. But yeah, I think similar to you, it depends on how the coins fall when I've wrapped up with Shadows in probably a month's time.
Yeah, Clay Obscura is definitely the front runner for me at the moment, but it kind of depends how I feel when I finish Oblivion.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else Xbox might shadow drop on me?
Well, there's loads of stuff. We've got plenty to talk about in the show. We've got obviously Doom coming up. We've got some reviews dropped for that. That comes out next week, so that's another massive one. And then there's a couple of other ones in between. But yeah, I've been also I'm chipped a bit more of Split Fiction away. I think I'm probably about 2/3, if not 3/4 of the way through that with my wife now. So getting there near the end with that one, and just seeing what it is. But yeah, getting some decent Shadows time in at least.
I've got that to play as well.
You do, stacked up and lined up, ready to go. But Richie, our audience are not just here to listen to us talk about what games we've been playing this past week. They're also here to listen to
the graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the news.
The news. And as always, the news is brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic members of the channel who support us that extra little bit further. From as little as 99p, you can support us too. You get early access to content, as Richie mentioned. Pokemon live streams are up now. You get stickers and badges next to your name in the chat. But more importantly, you help support a small independent group of boys who just have gaming as their hobby. And we get together every single week to talk about games, share it with you, our fantastic audience, play games with you, and help grow this channel and this nice, I'd like to think, a safe haven, Richie, for mature gamers to talk about all things decent. And I actually had a bit of a reflection period this past week of like, actually, our Discord and socials have been going for like 5.5 years now, give or take.
Yeah, they have, yeah.
And you know what? We've never really had any issues. There's been
no drama. There's been no
assholes.
We've never even had to kick anyone out or anything like that.
Other than like 1 or 2 spam bots who've shown up, I think, from time to time, which is always going to happen with the internet. Yeah, so I just want to say, like, shout out to our awesome members who make that happen. But then I think just the wider community we've curated over the last 5 years, from Google Stadia's inception all the way through to where we are today. Everyone just plays wherever makes them happy, Richie. Wherever makes them happy. Almost like it's the channel's mantra. Of course, if you are into all sorts of gaming, there's a safe place for you here to talk about it, discuss it, review. I just love looking at the Discord server. There's like conversation about people buying like graphics cards for PC. Then people talk about the Switch and how the cards work. People helping each other out with any queries they've got. People dropping deals in. Shout out to the folks, some of our mod team, kind of unofficial mod team, who always drop like news stories in, which is where it helps us like fill the news doc every week. I just had a bit of a reflection period. You know what? After half a decade, we've got such a fantastic audience. So shout out to you, even the dirty freeloaders who listen on audio feeds only. Shout out
even
to you. Even you have a place in our hearts. But Richie, let's get into the news because we've got a busy week. First story, kicking things off. It's happening. Gears of War Reloaded, coming later this year. Official. This is reading from the Xbox blog. Gears of War Reloaded comes to Xbox Series X and S, Xbox PC, Xbox Cloud Gaming, PlayStation 5, and Steam in summer 2025. To be more specific, that is August the 26th, and it'll be retailing at about $39.99 US, or your local equivalent. So we'll probably pay 40 quid for it, 38, 45, whatever it might be. Who knows what tariffs and conversion rate will do to it. But yes, Gears of War Reloaded supports full crossplay and cross-progression across all platforms. Any Xbox fans, as a nice little nugget, who already own the digital version of Gears of War Ultimate, which was the remaster we got about 10 years ago, do receive a free upgrade to Reloaded, so there's a nice little string to the story there. But yes, Gears of War Reloaded is a celebration of one of gaming's most iconic franchises, featuring 4K resolutions, 120 frames per second support, and the ultimate multiplayer experience with cross-progression. This is the definitive way to experience the game that started it all. And they go on in the blog to say, as we approach the 20th anniversary of Gears of War in 2026, we're reflecting on what this franchise means. It's about the stories we've told, the friendships we've built, and the unforgettable moments we've shared together. With Gears of War Reloaded, we're opening that door to more players than ever before. Richie, we've both played Gears of War now. We're actually in a place of knowledge with this franchise.
We played the first remaster of Gears of War.
We did. We played the Ultimate Edition, which is available on the channel now if you're going to want to go watch it and check it out. We suspected this was happening, right, with Xbox's move, with the kind of the big three of Halo, Forza, and Gears. We've got Forza doing gangbuster numbers. I think it passed 2 million this past week, or 1.2 million. I'm not 100%, but big numbers for a 6-year-old game at this stage. Gears of War is the next in line. I'm guessing with whatever reboot Halo are working on, because they're kind of doing a start from scratch thing again, aren't they, with the Halo team now?
Yeah.
I think fast forward a couple of years and that comes to PlayStation as well, and then we are literally at that point where Xbox is a multi-platform publisher, all in, all out.
I do think Xbox is now already a multi-platform publisher who also produce hardware.
Yeah, I agree.
To touch on the remaster of this, because I know it's like I've seen a few people go, "Oh, it's a remaster of a remaster," but when I've played Oblivion, the amount of care and attention, despite the bugs in that game, because it does crash a bit,
it's a
Xbox. It feels like sometimes a remaster they just kind of re-render the game at a higher frame rate, and kind of get it in a higher resolution, and then kind of go, touch up a few, polish up a few textures and walk away. With the Xbox, what Xbox have done, what Bethesda have done with Oblivion, they've really put a lot of care and attention into it. I think that's what we're going to see from Reloaded here.
Yeah.
So even just looking at a few of the screenshots, it looks significantly better.
The lighting.
The lighting, the textures.
The brown and grey has fizzled away finally to some degree.
It doesn't feel like just a cheap remaster. That's like a bit of a cash grab. Mm-hmm. I think this has got the effort went in there, so it probably is worth the money or Game Pass. But
absolutely. To give a few more details, this is developed by the Coalition in partnership with Sumo Digital and Disbelief. So Sumo Digital are the team who worked on Run Sackboy Run for the PlayStation. Yeah. So it's nice to see them getting a bit of work behind the scenes as well. And acknowledgement. So Gears of War Reloaded, as I said, it comes to all platforms. It is coming to Game Pass Ultimate and PC Game Pass as well, so you can play it there. But it does include the full breadth of content from the Gears of War Ultimate Collection, giving you the most complete version of the original game to date. Players will also gain immediate access to all the post-launch content and DLC that came at no additional cost. That includes Campaign Acts, which apparently there's another campaign that we played in the Ultimate Edition that wasn't in the original. It was kind of just segued in there. So we didn't realise it because we were playing it for the first time. But original players of the OG game had to wait for that bit to be added in. I think it's when we went off on a little side mission to do with bridges or something that wasn't in the original.
Probably, yeah.
So good to see we've experienced it. It was seamlessly segued in there. All multiplayer maps and modes with a full roster of classic characters and cosmetics unlockable through progression. Doesn't say anything about season passes there. But I think it does go on again to say about the full cross-platform functionality. I think this is where Xbox have done wonderful over the years to really get across with like the likes of Sea of Thieves and stuff. They really have a lot of games with Minecraft and everything in between just out there with crossplay and fully functioning, fully working. And it goes back to, I think, Xbox and Microsoft's wider internal infrastructure for networking. It just works to support this. But Yeah, as you said, a couple of points is visually looks great. I think when we played the Ultimate Edition, we did critique how brown/grey everything was. It had that 2000 mid-2000s stink on it. Like if you go back and play like the Resistance franchises and any game that came out in that era, it was just the theme, it was the vibe, it was the color palette that almost landed on every single game at the time. So it's nice to see that fidelity and the lighting come through in a fully built from the ground remake. I'm glad multiplayer's here, because they could have very easily just threw in the single player campaign and went, there you go, you all want the story, here it is. I think multiplayer could be a huge win, especially with cross progression, because we never really dabbled in that.
No, we didn't.
Played through it, probably because we were about to do some clunky Xbox 360 sub menu tinkering around to even get people added into a group to actually play a game. It wasn't worth
that's
the
the thing where that's another benefit of this, because of the remasters, because this is going to run natively on your Xbox rather than going into like almost an emulated form of Xbox 360 for it to run.
Mm-hmm. And as we said, everything's scaled up as well, with HDR included, all the Dolby Vision for sound as well, and Dolby Atmos. All the assets and textures, improved shadow reflection, super resolution, zero load screens during the campaign, which could be a nice feature to just make it feel all seamless. And the free upgrade for existing owners, fantastic. Although I'd imagine they've got Game Pass anyway, so they're going to get it for free and play it. But I think the biggest thing really is it's coming to PlayStation. And as someone, again, I think we've always said, is Gears being that kind of third-person cover shooter, it always felt the closest to a PlayStation title to me out of all of Xbox's catalogue. It always was that one that it would have slotted in with PlayStation's library quite well, and now it's going to.
Well, we've discussed loads of polls on the channel where like PlayStation fans and things like Push Square have voted on what Xbox games they would love to see come to PlayStation. Mm-hmm. And Gears was always top dog above Halo. Yeah.
And it's interesting to see. And I think I know we get it on Xbox, but there is part of me that really would like to go for the Platinum on this one, just to have like an Xbox game tagged as a Platinum on PlayStation. There's something very symbolic about it.
I'm playing Oblivion on PlayStation. See, I'm less inclined to go and drop the money for Gears than I was for Oblivion, purely because I have played the full game already in recent times.
Yeah.
And where Oblivion's different because it's one of my most beloved games of all time. So I was like, yes, take my money. Gears I could quite happily wait for. Mm-hmm. But if I was in this moment going, right, my next game is going to be Gears, I want to play Gears again, I probably would be dropping the money on PlayStation.
Well, here's the great thing with...
I know I wouldn't play it on Xbox just because my own gaming habits. I prefer to play it on my Portal.
But then with full cross-play and cross-progression, I could pick it up on PlayStation, you could play it on Xbox, and it won't matter. I also think the price is decent as well. It's like that tactical price point that I think the games like the Warhammer titles and stuff do really well, of like just, sitting underneath that really premium one, where I think they're acknowledging that it is an old game, but then I think it's that sweet point where if you're on PlayStation, have never played Gears before, but all your friends have spoke about it, or you're maybe young enough not to know much about it, but you've heard of it, then $40 is a really good point to jump in. Another big talking point of all this, Richie, is why is it just the one? Why isn't it a Marcus Phoenix collection similar to the Master Chief? And what do you think the reason is?
My thoughts on this is, I think that's what everyone would love this to be, in a collection.
Mm-hmm.
But with the level of effort they're putting into it, you'd have to wait probably a few more years at least for a collection to be ready, and it wouldn't be able to come in at that price point.
Yeah,
I think once the first 3 games have been remade, remastered to this standard, you might see a bundle as a collection.
Oh, so you think we're definitively getting 2 and 3?
Yes. Otherwise, the sensible thing would have been to start with 2, because 2 hasn't been remastered before.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think the fact that they're starting with Gears of War 1, kind of, as long as it sells well, showcases they want to get this franchise back up to modern standards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this for me really highlights where Microsoft/Xbox is at, and they're almost at this this pivotal reset point where they've almost like redefined the industry with Game Pass. They've redefined their marketing campaigns with the everything's an Xbox. They're more than happy to play ball with anyone who's willing. It's such an open platform, it feels like Xbox at the moment, where we are going to see things like Call of Duty on Switch and no doubt a lot more Xbox games on the Switch too. We've seen games come across the PlayStation. We already know the PC accessibility. And even though they're in third place, I've seen loads of conversation this week about saying like they are really set up for the decades to come with the amount of studios they've got. Look at the cadence they're hitting now. That Xbox Game Pass stride that we've joked about for literally since this channel's inception of Microsoft want a game dropping every quarter, like a big tentpole game. And I feel like we're getting that every month at the moment. We've had South of Midnight, we've had Oblivion, we've got Doom next month. Like that rate is insane.
I feel like Oblivion isn't considered in that category, although it kind of almost is based on things like sales and reception. But I don't think Xbox are putting it in as one of the temples.
No,
because they wouldn't have shadow dropped it.
Yeah, and I
think as well with Gears. I think one of the reasons, going back to why I think it was this number to start with number one, is probably because it is going to PlayStation.
Yeah.
So they want PlayStation fans to experience this beloved Xbox franchise from the start at a quality that is of modern gaming standards.
Yeah. It's and
Xbox biggest publisher on PlayStation right now.
Yeah. Oh, hands down.
And above Sony.
I mean, it's seemingly been a quiet year so far, but it's that reset point. I think doing it with Gears, do it with Halo. Like you'll always have your legacy, but there is a reality where gaming's came along so much, and we always talk about like diminishing returns on games now. And I saw a clip of Uncharted 4 had its 9th anniversary this week, and that game looks better than a lot of games that come out today. And that game's nearly 10 years old. So the reality is there was a cut-off point, seemingly around probably 9-10 years ago, with the likes of the Order 1886 and infamous First Light for PlayStation, and no doubt Xbox on their end as well, where games just hit this point where they look stunning. But I think everything pre that almost does have an age to it. And I think Gears of War fell in that category where it was fun, the gameplay was fun, the story was great, but in terms of how it's aged, it is probably the last group of games that like collective 2002 to 2012, they can still be taken, polished up and repackaged. And I think as an Xbox fan and a PlayStation fan through and through, this is what I want. Give me that Metal Gear treatment that we're going to get, where we're getting Metal Gear Delta. That sells well, that does well later on this summer. We're then going to get 2, we're then going to get 1, and they're going to go on. And I think if Gears and Microsoft and Xbox can drip feed me, who's never experienced the full franchise before, over the next 10, 15 years, they can drip feed me a brand new polished version of this fantastic franchise every 3 to 4 years, I'm down for that.
The thing is, it's one of them. They could have ported the Gears of War Ultimate Edition onto PlayStation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at this point, that's an old remaster of an even older game. Mm-hmm. And while you might get a handful of PlayStation fans going, "Oh, I remember hearing about Gears ages ago. I'd like to give it a dabble." I think a lot of gamers may not nowadays may not have heard about Gears. So by doing the reloaded version, they're presenting this as a modern game.
Yeah,
a modern game that has it has a deep legacy. So people will see the trailer and go, "Ooh, what's that?" Those who don't know Gears will see what's that, then find out, "Oh no, this is a storied franchise. Take my money," and it's only $40.
Yeah, or it's on Game Pass. Play it for free.
Yeah,
and the thing that's
the selling point of why should you buy an Xbox? Because this game you're paying $40 for, you can get it for free.
And there's a two-pronged approach to this, which I really think is a tactical part as well. And that's Gears of War next year is celebrating its 20th anniversary, and as the old men we are now, our audience, you'll know this. There's kids who were not born when this game came out originally, and they are now going to be turning 20 next year. They are in that prime. They're between college and getting a full job, or they've got disposable income because they've got a full-time job for the first time. They grew up maybe for the last couple of years with video games, Fortnite, Minecraft, whatever it is, and they're starting to get to that, I don't want to say mature game, but you know when like you almost you promote yourself from say like Nintendo-y type games up a rung, like we all did with Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2 and Assassin's Creed 2, like you know what, that type of game where it's like it's more than just points and scores and kiddie games.
If maybe they've left university at 21, got the first professional job, or maybe they've left college or school and went into a trade, and now they're starting to earn a bit of money, but I probably haven't moved on from living with their parents, so they still have the full whack of that disposable income before things like council tax has to be paid.
Ooh. I mean, to be fair, a lot of them, if you're just about 10, 20, have you even bought your own console yet?
Probably not.
I think mine was a PS4, was the first console I bought with my own money.
Same, actually.
So, like, that was us back in, 2014?
I did buy a PC. I did buy a PC before then. So,
yeah. So I bought a laptop before then. So, but you're thinking, 2014 was PlayStation 4. So, yeah, we'll have been 24, 23, maybe, if it was early in the year. So we'll have been 23. So these people we're talking about here, who were just 10 and 20, in the next year or two after Gears Reloaded launches, they're in that place we were back then thinking, right, I've got money. Do I want to buy a PS5 Pro or whatever? Do I want to buy an Xbox, whatever? Do I want to buy a Switch 2? What games am I into? And this is where they hit them with marketing. And I think the second prong to that we've got to consider, E-Day. The next big sequel is primed in the next year or two to go. What a better way to stoke the fire and the interest of a franchise than he's the thing that started it all in the best form of it's ever been in.
And critically, E-Day is a prequel.
Yeah.
So you don't have to play the full franchise before E-Day to fully understand it. There might be stuff that that are missed on you if you haven't played them all, but you won't notice.
Yeah.
But did you do the thing when you got a first professional job where you spent a chunk of your first paycheck to just buy something?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
To treat yourself.
Yeah,
I've got guitar behind me. The black one there, the one with the GamerGuild logo on it. I bought that for like 500 quid with my first paycheck. That's console money nowadays.
Yeah. Oh, and the rest.
So just to go back to your point of people like in that age, in the late teens, early 20s, first starting work for the first time. Mm-hmm. There you go.
And then on the flip side of that, you've got the people who were already adults when the first one came out. And now, sorry to say it, guys, you're in your 40s now. And you probably have grown-up kids, so they're now leaving. It's no longer cool to hang out with mum and dad. So you now have a bit more time back to yourself. You maybe have a bit more income because they're off getting their own part-time jobs and stuff. And
I feel when you're in your 40s, it's now cool to hang out with your mum and dad again.
When we're in our 40s, but when these people,
we're in our 30s, and I like hanging out with my mum and dad now.
I'm sure a lot of the ones with kids, like their own kids, not you. You're not the kid in this situation. You have the kids in this situation. And they no longer want to hang out with their mum and dad because they're in their teens and it ain't cool. So as a parent, you're like, oh shit, I've got all this time and maybe a bit more money spare. Let us know in the comments below. My little one's only 2-year-old, so you've probably got a lot of time on me. But yeah, I think
have 2 cats, no children.
I think it's great. All of this. I'm looking forward to it. And again, this is the kind of stuff as a gamer. This is why I have no problem with remasters. If I don't want to buy it, I don't buy it. But if you want to, you've got the best version ever to play coming your way later this year.
My thing is, I don't mind remakes and remasters, but I would like, wherever possible, to preserve the original version of it, which Xbox has done. You can go into Game Pass now and play the original Gears of War, or you can play the remaster and pretty soon be able to play Reloaded.
Yeah.
So 3 versions of the same game playable on the same platform.
It's like a time capsule.
Perfect. Well done, Microsoft, for planning this from the first ever Xbox.
Yeah, you did good. To get into like a little bit of the detail before we move on to our second story is no trailer. Bit odd to release an announcement and just have a few screenshots to show.
Yeah, a bit actually, but they haven't put a date on it yet. They have August the 26th. I don't know. I feel like maybe they just wanted to get the announcement out now, and so they only have to do like one trailer, do a release trailer.
Well, the other
they shadow dropped Oblivion with a trailer.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think they might just do some. They decided not to shadow drop Gears, announce it in advance, but then I think we will see a trailer down the line, probably showcasing the difference across the generations to show why you should play the Reloaded version.
Yeah. The other caveat to that question, I guess, at the same time, is we're less than a month away from Summer Game Fest, and no doubt the Xbox Showcase.
Yeah.
So it does seem odd that they announced this because I think they could have got a big pop out of it at a showcase. But I think the trailer, probably alongside a new E-Day trailer, will be saved for the summer showcase. But we're at that time, Richie, where in 4 weeks' time, you and me are going to be sitting down and reacting to a ton of new announcements.
Well, Phil Spencer has hinted when Oblivion came out that they had a lot more exciting stuff in the works for this year that they haven't even announced yet.
Yeah.
So it's possible that when they're planning for Summer Games Fest, they've looked at Games Award Reloaded and went, this is one of the things that need to be cut for time, or maybe they're just going to do a quick trailer. So like, let's get the information about the game out there in advance. So when people see the trailer, it's already out there.
Yeah. Isn't that mad to think their summer production might be that stacked that they have to cut Gears of War out of it for time to like get the story out?
If E-Day if they're focusing a bit on E-Day, maybe you don't want to have two Gears of War in the same showcase.
Very true.
So this has been bumped.
Yeah, interesting stuff. And of course, we'll be covering Summer Game Fests and Expo. Well, like in whatever guys will, depending on work and stuff and timing schedules. And whenever Jeff Keighley does it, if he screws us over and does it in the middle of the night, I think the summer one is usually at a much better time. If I recall, I feel like we've reacted to it live for a couple of years now, around about 8 o'clock. Like I think it usually falls, weirdly enough, on a Thursday around the time we would normally do our weekly stream. So
it's actually a Friday. It's June the 6th.
Oh, even better. Oh, is it Friday US that's Thursday night us? Is it like one of them time zone things?
9 p.m. GMT.
Oh,
June the
Friday.
6th.
Lovely. So yeah, we'll get some beers in. We'll be off for the weekend. We'll watch some game news, folks. But moving away from Gears onto our second news story of the week, we pivot over to the team in blue, who ironically have to announce a new team themselves. Reading from the PlayStation blog, TeamLFG rallies developers from across the industry to bring to life an ambitious incubation project. This is Helmut Hermann-Hulst, who is the CEO Business Group Head. Today, I'm thrilled to officially unveil a new studio in the PlayStation Studios family. TeamLFG originated at Bungie, but has also rallied developers from across the industry to bring to life this ambitious project, which we're very excited about. The studio is now fully formed and ready to be introduced to the world. He goes on to let them introduce himself. I'll read from their particular quote. "Hello world, it's a delight to meet you, and we're very grateful to be joining PlayStation Studios. Our studio is headquartered in Bellevue, WA, which is... I don't know what state that is. I was going to say Wisconsin. Washington? Washington, which makes sense because they've got like Ben's studio up that way as well in Oregon, so they've got a few up in the Northwest. I'm pretty sure that's right. Apologies for any US people watching us. My geography is limited. Both working on-site and remotely through the US and Canada, we're a team composed not only of industry veterans who ship titles like Destiny, Halo, League of Legends, Fortnite, Roblox, and Rec Room, but also industry newcomers with fresh creative perspectives and skills. We are passionate about exceptional action-based play, moment-to-moment gameplay feel, and the richly social virtual worlds. The LFG in Team LFG stands for Looking for Group, which is obviously a gamer term. It does not stand for let's fucking go. But we're driven by a mission to create games where players can find friendship, community, and belonging. And then they go on to talk about like immersion and plays and etc. It's a long post. Their intention, though, does say is our first game is a team-based action game that draws inspiration from fighting games, platformers, MOBAs, life sims, and frog-type games. That's a real quote. Players will inhabit a light-hearted comedic world set in a brand new mythic science fantasy universe. We can't wait to reveal more. Thanks for reading, Team LFG. Dissect for me, Richie. The hell's a frog game?
I am looking this up now.
Frogger? Are we talking like a Frogger? But
so, reading from Reset Era, after Bungie confirmed their latest project will be a frog-type game. This is dated 2023. I have to ask what your favorite titles in this burgeoning genre.
And
I don't know. I'm looking for answers. See, apparently, they announced this game kind of in 2023, you know, but under the Bungie banner.
Yeah, we knew there's been something incubating for a while, and they did say there it's been going. It's now time. Now the team's fully formed to reveal it to the world.
So, yeah. Everyone's just making frog memes.
Right. Okay.
Like, no,
Pepe the Frog, is he back? Is he having a resurgence in the meme world?
People posting like Frogger memes and all sorts of stuff.
Good. This is, I mean, I guess I won't read too much into this because I think we've seen a lot of this happen over the last couple of years where people have broken away from different roles in companies like EA, Ubisoft and stuff. They've formed their own. And you know what? We've got some great games. If you remember the guys who broke away from... I'm blanking out. The horror game, the Dead Space people, they made... Callisto Protocol?
Yeah.
We got was incubated from them, and we've got a couple of others. And obviously they're not as good as their classics, but they exist and they're out there making games, and we get more and more teams. This is how the industry evolves and changes over time. Don't really like the name. TeamLFG means nothing. And again, I guess no team name does until they make something phenomenal. Like Naughty Dog's arguably a crap name. I mean, it is. But then because you associate with such a terrific form of art, it's like, oh yeah, Naughty Dog, absolute legends. Guerrilla Games, like, does anything really mean it? But I think just TeamLFG, sorry, just feels like a lame attempt. I suppose,
if you know what LFG means in like gamer slang, you immediately think, okay, these guys are making multiplayer games. They're making team cooperative games of some description.
Yeah,
because you're looking for a group of people to play with.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the reason I don't have massive amounts of faith in this is just because of PlayStation's current history with multiplayer offerings. They sacked off the Last of Us factions. They collapsed in on... why can't I think of the name? Why is my brain blanking? Concord. Takes me a second.
Concord,
apparently I'm still half
Concord just like crashed.
Concord came out shit the bed in one of the worst video game launches ever. They've pulled the plug on multiple projects that were at Bend and Blue Point. God of War multiplayer,
that weren't even announced.
Spider-Man multiplayer. Like, I just
all sorts of talk about Horizon, but nothing's ever really surfaced.
Yeah, and then all this surrounded by the fact that Bungie, since being acquired by PlayStation Studios for $3.4 billion or whatever it is, seemingly have done nothing but struggle. Marathon seems to be struggling to find a footing in the space. So then tell me they've spun off to make a studio focused on MOBAs like League of Legends and Roblox and Rec Room, which I've never even heard of. It's like, okay, you do you, PlayStation.
My issue is when they're describing the first game that they're working on, that they're drawing inspiration from fighting games, platformers, MOBAs, life sims, and frog-type games. That's just a random selections. Like, how... Because platformers, okay, so you jump from one thing to other.
Yeah.
Like... You need a bit more. That MOBAs is an interesting one because a MOBA at least is a very clearly defined genre. Like, so if you draw inspiration from MOBAs, you're either looking like a long list of like character classes and stuff. Mm-hmm. You're looking probably one team versus another, maybe 5v5 lane focused combat.
Sounds like Concord.
Like it's like they're quite attritional.
Sounds like Concord.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Is a weird one. Where does that fit in? Well, fighting games is like
when they say social as well. It's like, I don't know. I just feel like in the industry, there's no space left. It's saturated so much.
Yeah,
but it's funny how you say about the. I was thinking there with the random collection of things to say. I'm like, right, if I look at my shelf right now, I have a bunch of Sega Mega Drive games. And I feel like I look at them and go, we're making a brand new game that's going to be a 2D platformer with flight mechanics, with some melee combat, sci-fi inspired. Frenetic, fast-paced team building with an inspiration from toys.
You know where my mind went to when you described that? A 2D side-scroller version of something like Star Fox.
I'm just going through everything. So, like, on the list I've got Mickey Mouse World of Illusion, which is 2D platformer, Tailspin, which is the flight, Chuck Rock 2, Son of Chuck, which is the melee combat part, Zero Wing, which is the sci-fi element, Sonic 2, which is the frenetic, fast-paced part of it, Power Rangers, which is the team-based element, and then Disney's Toy Story, which is the random toy theme that I threw in at the end. It's like, just by looking along a list of 7 games, that's how I came up with a new studio, and I'm going to call it Mega Drive Corporation.
Sorry, I just done a quick Google search for like game genre generator, and I found a website, letsmakeagame.net.
All right, sweet.
And I just clicked generate. You know what's come up with? Why I started laughing. Multiplayer rhythm text-based.
Text-based rhythm.
It's a text-based.
Powered by...
Okay, a multiplayer rhythm game can be a thing, but no text-based.
Powered by Microsoft Word.
Point and click stealth.
But you know what? We won't judge. It's still in inception. Any new team, I'm always happy. I trust PlayStation Studios for the most part. it's one of them things where we're not going to see anything from this team probably for 3 to 4 years at least. So we'll put a pin in it and we'll return to it in the future. Over on the other side, one thing people can't stop taking pins out of, seemingly, is the bubble that's ready to pop around Xbox and their new handheld that they're doing in collaboration with Asus. So I said at the top of the show, official leaks, and that's because photos of the Xbox's upcoming branded handheld by Asus have been leaked online. The images show 2 versions of the Asus ROG Ally 2, with a regular white-coloured version, as well as a black-coloured variant that includes a dedicated Xbox button. As spotted online, this leak comes from the US's FCC, their copyright company team department of certification. The hardware appears to give us our first look at the Microsoft and Asus Project Kennen, which we know as. They're officially set to reveal the project in the coming months, most likely at the Summer Showcase, which happens in June. So we'll probably learn about more in the coming couple of weeks. And yeah, the pictures are online. It's surfaced. The device looks pretty similar to a Steam Deck. It's got it's like curved handheld buttons. It's got the typical Xbox buttons, and as we said, a dedicated Xbox particular one. Richie, just off the bat, I know we've both got I guess a need or a requirement want for this Xbox handle, especially because we love our Portal so much. What are your first thoughts on this dusty looking hardware image?
Yeah, I was going to say they need it clean. It's hard to say because it just looks like what I kind of would expect it to look like. There's nothing immediately jumping out at me. My thing is, it comes down to what I want in terms of the specs of a device like this. Mm-hmm. Because there is a multitude of solutions to play Xbox and Xbox Cloud Gaming on the go by buying a Steam Deck, an ROG Ally that already exists. But these are not devices I'm interested in because I don't want a portable PC. I don't want to pay the £500 price point for all the additional features that you get with them. When what I want is the Portal, but green. I want this. That's what I want. I want to be able to play a device that plays only Xbox Cloud Gaming and can remote into my Xbox. And that's me happy. But I want it at that price point, so that around about the £200 price point, not the 500.
Yeah.
Because the actual dedicated device, you can get a device that does what I want. But I just don't think that for me, I don't want to pay that price for it.
Yeah, the Logitech G Cloud's probably the nearest you've got. But again,
I also don't want to mess with side loading apps and stuff. Yeah. I just want this to turn on, log into my account and go.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat as you. I love my Portal so much. I just want that dedicated thing. I think at a sweet price point where I look at it and go, you know what? If I put 50 quid away a month, 4 months time, I can pocket this thing. And I think for both of us, we're both quite content with Xbox Cloud Gaming as well. I don't think we've ever really had an issue with it. I know it was never as good as Google Stadia was back in the day, but several years on, we've streamed many times on the channel and it never bothers me. But you're right, there's a couple of weird things psychologically that does me. Like, I don't like the thought of having an off-brand one. Like, call me brand loyal or whatever it is. And when I look at the Portal, and that's ultimately a PlayStation device, it's so tied in with their stylization for the whole PlayStation 5 range.
Don't get me wrong, the Portal still needs work. There's still things like, I wish you could have multiple accounts on your Portal. Yeah. So I don't have to sign out Nat's account, then get up my phone and scan a QR code to go into my account. It's annoying.
Yeah. Quality of life things. But I can't help but just look at it. It's
nice that I can just, once I'm logged in, this is just a PlayStation ecosystem dedicated. And that's what I want from an Xbox One.
Yeah. And I can't help but look at this and think it looks, I don't want to say tacky, but the design of it looks clunky. It really, if you told me this was a device from 20 years ago, I'd buy it. Like, not buy it. Sorry, I'd believe it. Yeah. I just think the buttons look clunky. The font on the buttons looks missized. I know obviously it looks dusty, so it's doing it a disservice. But I don't like the hand grip shape. It doesn't look finessed as much. It looks like it could do it with a couple more minutes in the oven, to say the least. Just refine it a little bit more.
You want to look a bit more like this, the fonts. You want to be full Xbox branded.
And I think
the Xbox fonts for the letters, which they're not using.
Yeah.
They're using the ROG fonts. But there again, this is a prototype.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
So they'll probably have a mass bought the actual Xbox branded buttons, so they're just using the ROG ones because that's what they have available.
Yeah, there's like little
which
things.
makes sense for prototypes. And again, we're not meant to see these pictures.
That's again, taking everything with a pinch of salt. The pictures in question again, I think there's just a couple of things. If I was looking to get this, instead of it saying ROG randomly, because that means nothing to me as a brand, seeing the word ROG doesn't mean anything. That should be the Xbox logo for me. I'll leave it blank. You don't need a logo there.
It's possible even the button layout might be slightly different, where they've got like the menu buttons and stuff, because they might put a dedicated Xbox button in like a circular shape rather than the triangular shape.
Yeah.
What I think they've done here, they've took the casing and stuff of the ROG Ally 2 that they've just got lying around to produce this.
Yeah, it's literally makeshift.
It's R&D.
But I think again the thing we need to bear in mind is there is an official Xbox One rumored to be coming the year after. This is like a partnership, probably to get the internal sorted out, and then Microsoft will probably lean into Asus to be like, right, can you produce the parts for it, and we'll do the
idea.
Branding.
They're going to do like two tiered ones. The first one would be basically the full on handheld PC one, which might be a dedicated Xbox ecosystem.
Yeah,
but I think the difference might be the higher tier one. You log into your Xbox account and you can download your games, so you can play. You could download, say, Oblivion and play it natively. Where the cheaper one might be, you have to play this through the cloud.
Yeah,
I personally wish they were coming out in the opposite order.
Yeah,
because it's the second one is the one I'm interested in personally.
Yeah, exactly the same. But the leaks are out, and as you said, at the showcase, we'll no doubt hear a bit more from Project Kenan, not Keenan.
Yeah,
Kenan. But yeah, just that was funny again. Once again, official US means leaking it, and we'll no doubt get the specs a bit closer to the time, but more information. Back to the games though, Richie. We've got, as I said, some big news reviews dropping this week, which totally snuck up on me. I had to check the release date of this because when I saw reviews dropping for Doom: The Dark Ages, I was like, this isn't this week, is it? Surely not. Like, come on. I'm sure it was further out. But yeah, we've got an extra week to wait. So it looks like they're confident enough in this game to get the reviews out and stuff a lot more early than you would expect. Which again, it's Doom and it's id, so no surprise there. Doom: The Dark Ages currently sitting with an 85 score on Metacritic, which puts it in line with the previous two games, give or take. Reading a couple of views, we've got Screen Rant gave it 100, 10 out of 10. They say Doom: The Dark Ages is a reminder that sometimes the best games simply care about being fun. Isn't that nice, Richie? Yep. Destructoid gave it a 95 out of 100, and I quote, a hallmark of excellence. Sorry, there may be flaws, but they are negligible and won't cause massive damage. Doom: The Dark Ages is a brutally dark and gory game that sets up the rest of the franchise's story in a captivating and meaningful way. It improves on nearly every aspect of previous entries in the series, setting itself up for a strong 2025 Game of the Year contender. Yeah, some big words from Destructoid there. You got any for us?
Central. Yeah, Windows Central. With Doom: The Dark Ages, id Software proves it can still reinvent the wheel, shaking up numerous aspects of gameplay, exchanging elaborate platforming for brutal on-the-ground action, as well as the ability to soar on a dragon's back or stomp around in a giant mech. The story is silly, but fits the overall over-the-top tone of the Slayer's war against demons. It's still just as fun to rip and tear as it always has been. 100.
Damn. And last one then, before we get into it, 9 out of 10 from IGN. Far from being more Doom, Doom: The Dark Ages is a new flavour of the legendary shooter series that's heavier and more grounded. In brackets as well, it's closer to 2016 Doom than Eternal, I've heard, but no less energetic and exhilarating. The new Shield is an outstanding addition that adds a ton of both offensive and defensive options, and when combined with the extensive arsenal of a traditional Doom set of guns, provides a ton of fun and exciting ways to dispatch hundreds upon thousands of demons that stand in your way. Add on top of that another pumped up heavy metal soundtrack backing the excellent weapon, level and enemy design, and id once again has proven that, like a super shotgun blast from point blank range, they don't miss. So yeah, nice little review there from IGN. And yeah, Richie, are we surprised? id and the Doom team have done terrific stuff with the reboot of the franchise for a decade now at this point, nearly.
Yeah, it felt like before Doom, like the rebooted Doom, it was a franchise that lost its way. Mm-hmm. But then because didn't they try to almost turn it into a bit more of like a cover shooter, like and stuff? But then when the reboot, the franchise went, no, this game isn't a cover shooter. This is a fast, frenetic game where movement is critical. That's kind of what they did. Then they doubled down that with Eternal.
Yeah.
And what they seem to have done with this one is, I'm reading from Pure Xbox here, for this latest lesson, the Slayer brings defensive options, more space and time, and the perspective of a god killer as he drops into battle. Slightly different Death Dance then, but still a gloriously great one. And then they rated it 90. But it seems like what they've done is, well, the gameplay is going to be different, but it's still going to feel like Doom. It's going to ask you to do a few different things. I think it's probably what this franchise needed after like Doom came out. Go, right, this is what a modern Doom game should feel like. Eternal basically kind of built on that and kind of go, right, this is the top, this is how a Doom should be. Now they're going, for the next game, we're not going to do that. We're going to do something slightly different, but equally awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They really know what they've got with Doom at the moment. They're absolutely smashing it.
Yeah, it's one of them where it's a franchise that it's been going for a while. It's been going since the 90s, of course.
Wasn't it bundled in with the original Doom, bundled in with Windows 95?
Yeah, that's why everyone's played it. But yeah, 93 was when the original Doom came out. And then we got again, it's mad to think how game development was. We got Doom 2 the year after, followed up. We had Doom 64. And then finally we had Doom 3 in 2004. There was a cancelled one. We've had lots of like little interstitial things in between then, like Doom RPG and a couple of other things like Game of the Year editions that have came out. There's the VR versions they added in for that. But then other than all things said, we had like kind of a bit of a gap, like a decade plus. And then we got 2016, then Eternal, and now Dark Ages. We've got like the perfect trilogy. And it's just mad to think going right back to like 93. When it first started, in between cancelled games and like what it doing, what are they using the Doom engine for, and then to come here today and then be like, oh, it's just still going, it's as good as ever, with some of those fantastic reviews. It's great to see. A lot of respect for Doom, and if you ever played a first person shooter and thought I'm really enjoying this, I think you owe a lot of that to this franchise.
Yeah. Well, I think Doom is one of them games in the first person shooter genre that defined what a first person shooter is. It was probably the first game to define what a first-person should be. Later, then you've got later games, things like GoldenEye, I think, did it as well. And then I think Call of Duty has done it. And I don't think we've had another game that's defined the genre since like Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
No. Which is mad.
I feel like, but there again, I think the genre is definitely split because Doom and Call of Duty are very different games, but they're both first-person shooters.
Yeah. So in regards to Doom, then, do you think you'll be checking it out next week? Dabble in it? Do a live stream?
Not next week. I'm focusing on Oblivion till I get back from Paris.
Ooh.
So I'm not planning on playing anything else. But I will jump into Doom at some point. It's never been a day one purchase for me, but it's going to be at some point. I will like to jump in and play.
Do we think this is the ball in the package then for Doom now? Do we let the trilogy sit and people enjoy the kind of the modern collection of games? Because I think all in all, the three of them collectively are fantastic.
I mean, Doom came out in 2016. Doom Eternal was 2020. Yeah. So we got 4 years there. Doom the Dark Ages is 5 years out. So the next one might not be till 2030 at this current cadence. So I think you're fine. Just keep going.
Just keep going. Obviously, it all depends.
With a 5 year gap, I don't think you're going to get into like franchise fatigue.
True.
Between titles.
And they make a point of not numbering them now. It seems to kind of keep that a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah.
Like nobody really knows. I guess it all depends on Microsoft and Xbox to a degree. Like, do they want id working on another shooter when we know Xbox's library is quite stacked with them, or is Doom that tentpole that just like Halo and Gears you can't stop, you just have to keep going with that now?
Again, I think Doom doesn't play like other shooters. It's quite distinct. Maybe something like Wolfenstein it plays like, but I feel like it's one of them where if you do bring out a game in a franchise every 5 years, I think you're pretty okay. You don't need to worry too much about franchise fatigue or anything like that. I guess, and you could potentially chuck a Wolfenstein in between because the last one was 2017.
Yeah, I mean that was done by Machine Games, wasn't it? who well, now seemingly they're going to probably be on an Indiana Jones sequel, you would imagine. So they're not going to be working on a Wolfenstein game. But then this is where I guess as Xbox they need to read the room and think, do we want to spend the next 5 years making another Doom? Or do we take everything they've learned and try and spin up something new? Like a new franchise? Like at some point, every studio needs to take stock and go, do we just keep milking this cow until there's nothing left? Or do we try and, when we're on such a high of 3 massively successful, really well-reviewed Doom games, do we now try something? And if it fails, we can go back to Doom. But I feel like they're at that pivot point where it's like, now I think would be a great opportunity to say, right, like, flex yourselves a little bit, make something different. Just for a decade's time, Xbox could then be sat there with another new franchise in the library. You know what I mean? And Doom is always going to be there to go back to. But again, we don't make those decisions. But I think this trilogy sounds so perfect. Let it sit for a bit longer than that 5 years. Maybe come back to it in a decade. But I'm just keen to see great studios do something new.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure because it have worked on Wolfenstein. They were originally did, but now with that being with machine games, you probably just leave that with machine games. Unless Machine are now focused on things like Indiana Jones and not interested in Wolfenstein. So you could go back to Wolfenstein.
Yeah.
Or you could go something even crazier. You could actually do maybe like how Doom the Dark Ages is almost going slightly medieval with it. You go futuristic and go like full on sci-fi as another spin-off franchise from Doom.
Yeah.
So you go, we're going to do Doom, but we're not going to stick to what is traditionally Doom. We're going to expand the franchise into different eras. Because Doom is fundamentally quite sci-fi anyway. The first game's set on Mars. You can't really get more sci-fi than that. But maybe you go further out.
Doom
I don't know.
Take on space pirates.
Well, I think if you're going to keep it as Doom as that franchise, you still have to be battling demons from hell.
Space pirates.
That would have to be the constant. But you can bring other elements in.
You certainly could. But another game and great straight into Game Pass. So again, if you've been paying for Game Pass for the first few months of this year, you are eating well. Next up, let's talk about some reviews of a game which I forgot was coming out. I know the trailers at the Game Awards and stuff were fantastic. I'm so thrilled to see it actually reviewing well. But Midnight Walk came out this past week as well. For those who can't remember, Midnight Walk is it's from the people who did Lost in Random, so it's one of these it's not EA spin-offs. Can't really remember. I'll read the description. Embark upon the midnight walk in this dark fantasy adventure from the minds behind Lost in Random. Become the Burnt One, befriend a lost lantern creature named Potboy, and use his flame to light your way through a conflicting world of wonder and terror. This is from Moonhood Studios, as I said, and it's just came out this past week. It was the one that had the stop animation almost, very Tim Burton, very Little Nightmares style. A lot of people initially thought it was just a VR game because it came out during a PlayStation State of Play presentation, but it did say it was coming to standard console. These reviews, I believe, are just for the game in general. It doesn't specify VR or not. IGN, give it a 9 out of 10. Said, I haven't been able to stop thinking about the Midnight Walk since I saw its endings, plural. It's something I know I'll come back to so that I can wander in the dark world again. Not because I'm looking to complete a checklist, but because everything I've learned has recontextualized the emotional stories I saw and changed what I believed about the world. 9 out of 10. Let's get another one from Game Reactor. They give it an 8 out of 10. They said, the Midnight Walk doesn't always succeed as a game, but as a story and an art form, it draws you in effortlessly. It's a brilliant atmospheric adventure that makes up for limited gameplay with emotional peaks that make you question everything you've just witnessed and done. The Midnight Walk might be a shorter path than I first thought, but it's not one I'll be forgetting anytime soon. So again, I'm getting just big Little Nightmare vibes from this one.
Yeah, I was
like
that
for everything good, not just that it looks the same, but just like the focus is on just story with like a little bit of platforming. I think it's going to tell a very dark Tim Burton-esque tale, which seems to be resonating with a lot of people. I'll give us one more from Game Informer. They give it an 8 out of 10. The Midnight Walk is a rare case of a book best judged by its cover. If its aesthetic speaks to you, you'll have a pleasant, spooky journey alongside Potboy. If it doesn't, its simple gameplay is unlikely to grab your attention tightly enough to make up for it. Regardless, its execution of this style is commendable, and as the score soared in the final moments of my playthrough, I knew it was a walk I was glad to have taken. So it sounds like a really deep, meaningful story if you're happy with like simple puzzles, and I think that's why Little Nightmares does so well. Like, I'm not looking for crazy action or combat. It's that world you're immersed in.
What makes them games pop is really it's the atmosphere, it's kind of the vibes of it, that because they're what you kind of remember of the experience more so than the actual narrative, and more so than the puzzle platforming mechanics. It is just that engrossing yourself in that kind of vibe, that kind of like aesthetic.
Yeah. So
if you're not into that, you're not going to enjoy it. Simple. It's that simple, I think. But
it's interesting how an art style can kind of get you, because that was with me. As soon as I saw South of Midnight back at the Xbox presentation a few years ago, I was like, yeah, I'm in. Like, I can get it, that vibe, and that's one of my favorite games of this year so far. And as soon as I saw Midnight Walk, it was like, ooh, there's something about this. And then when you saw the gameplay, it was very similar to Lost in Random or blanking now, or Little Nightmares. I was like, yeah, I'm totally in, and I get it. And I think you're right. When you think back to Little Nightmares and stuff, I don't think of like, wow, the gameplay was phenomenal. I probably dragged a few boxes, knocked a few lamps or something. A bit like
jumped
Inside.
Up a few things.
Yeah, a bit like Inside as well. Like, you're not there for that. You're there for the story. Planet of Lana, if you remember, came out 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
That was the same. It was just the art style was so beautiful and minimalistic. And you didn't hear from your character. There was no dialogue. It was just all sounds and atmosphere. I think Midnight Walk's going to tick that. So I think it's going to be definitely up there with a couple of indie game of the year conversations.
Oh, yeah. And it seems like it's a short and sweet thing, 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, which is perfect for me.
You can play it. It's a single evening.
Yeah. The only thing I'm surprised at is it didn't drop on like not that it has to, but I thought this would have been a perfect one to drop on PlayStation Plus or Game Pass as like a day one.
I don't think they tend to do that much. Game Pass do. I don't think PlayStation Plus tends to get many day one releases anymore. But gets the odd thing, but
they do pick out little gems, don't they?
Yeah, but I feel like
the state of play.
Sony now leaning towards giving this a bit of time at a state of play, giving it maybe 6 months to sell, or maybe a year, and then bring it over.
Yeah. But it's also VR, so I think that's why it got the PlayStation State of Play tie-in, because no one else really does VR and console. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it played in VR, because I think initially we were like, oh, it's a VR, and then it ended up just being on everything. Yeah. So yeah, but I like it. I like the thought, little pot boy, poor little sad boy, using his flame to light the way through this conflicted world of suspense and horror to survive. So I'm sure everyone will fall in love with little pot boy. In the lack of Sackboy, we should say, but that's a story for a short while. Richie, you and Rob talked about last week the delay to Grand Theft Auto, and I missed out on it because I wasn't here.
We almost missed out because it literally dropped it like a few hours before we started the recording.
Yeah, the 11th hour. Obviously, there's been all the fallout from it would have been like, oh my word, we have to wait a year. I've seen jokes in every element of the industry world of like, I don't know if you look at any social media comments this past week, but it's basically, we got this before GTA 6. Yesterday it was like, Harry Kane lifted a trophy before GTA 6 came out. There's like anything in the world that's taken time, you can just add, we got it before GTA 6. It's almost like it's a self-fulfilling meme now. So it's like, yeah, Rockstar, of course, delayed till May 2026. I'm so interested now to see how, like, the slew of release dates and announcements we must get now. Now everyone knows when it's coming out. Because remember last week there was the rumour like, oh, Borderlands 4's moved forward 2 weeks. It must be to get out of the way of Grand Theft Auto. And it's like, no. Randy Pitchford came out and said, no, that's not why. And everyone was like, Randy, you're a liar. You're an absolute liar. And then it's true. And it was like, oh, okay. Maybe he's still
to be fair, I don't think Randy was lying in that, because he moved it forward for 2 weeks, and then GTA got delayed into the next year. So it's like, I don't even know why he would have had to come out and say anything about Grand Theft Auto.
I know. I think it's just that immediate question of people reading too deep into it. At the same time, Randy Pitchford and the team over at Borderlands, probably would know because they're owned by 2K. So of all the companies who would know about a launch date for GTA, it would be another internal studio. So I could see where people were getting at. But yeah, Richie, I know you and Rob went in depth about it. We, since then, have actually had a trailer, the second trailer for Grand Theft Auto, which is, after 3 days, is now on the cusp of 100 million views on YouTube already. This shit is like wildfire. The hunger for Grand Theft Auto, it just shows you what infinite time, money and patience can do to a franchise. Like, you don't need to drop an annualized game. Like, I know we joked earlier on about when we were 20 in our 20s and buying our first console. The last Grand Theft Auto came out when my mum probably still, I think she bought my PlayStation 3 and we were in college, right? So I'll probably have to maybe get it for my birthday, I can't remember, or maybe ask for it or save pocket money. I can't remember how I acquired Grand Theft Auto 5, but that's how long ago it was. We since have a trailer though, Richie, and I don't know if you've had a chance to check it out. There's been a slew of stuff that's came out of it. We know more about the characters. We won't really get into in this show because it's extra detail that we wouldn't go into on any other game. You've got your two protagonists, Jason and Lucia. We kind of just see the whole world and the characters and people. I don't know if you've looked at the breakdowns of people going into like the sweat physics, the bottle mechanics of like the beer moving around, the reflections on nearly every surface. Yeah. This game just oozes money, right? You can tell Rockstar have put like, I think the rumors like $2 billion has gone into the production of this game,
which is about 1 week's earnings from Grand Theft Auto Online.
I mean, if you think you get something like a Last of Us from Naughty Dog for about 300 to 400 mil, then I guess if you times that by 4 over a decade plus.
With Grand Theft Auto 5, they've put themselves in a position where they have the luxury. This is what me and Rob were talking about. They have the luxury of taking as long as they need to make this game, but they also have the pressure of this game has to land.
Yeah,
because of how long it's been and the success of the last game. So I think they're right to take as much time as they need and have it. So people joke things like the sweat physics, but that's just showing how well they're handling fluids. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not just the sweat; it's water. It's like things like the beer inside bottles. It's everything. They're going into insane detail. So let's just hope it actually is a fun game.
I think it will be. A lot of what you're seeing in this second trailer is kind of focused on the story around these two main characters who clearly have like a very passionate relationship, but they're all, it's like Bonnie and Clyde, really, isn't it? What they do, and the glamorizing illegal crime alongside kind of like having a relationship. Loads of other characters and stuff came out, but one thing I think it was captured on PS5 as well, base PS5. They said the stuff. It's a mixture of cutscenes and gameplay. This isn't even on the Pro. This isn't even after
optimization.
It's beautifully stunning.
Like, we talked about things like Uncharted 4 and The Order in this show about how well they were running and looked on PS4, and they're still like outshine some modern games in terms of how they look and feel to play. It just kind of shows you if you've got that time and patience to optimize, you can get a lot more out of the hardware. Mm-hmm. So that's what Rockstar have had. They've had all that time. So many lessons they've learned from Grand Theft Auto 5, and the work they did with Red Dead 2 as well. Yeah, don't forget about that. The efforts they put in the Red Dead 2, they've learned a lot there. Yeah.
Looks huge. I just can't wait to immerse myself in this world. Like these games come along so like when you see like certain maps, especially like GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas, like. Those maps are like etched into my mind. I can drive around Vice City without a map because I spent so long going around it. And even GTA 5, like just the layout. And it's weird how once you've played it for so long, you kind of just, you know where the airport's at, you know the direction for the ports, you know where your home's at. And I'm really interested to see how Vice City has kind of evolved. And of course, it's not just Vice City now because it's gone bigger. It's essentially the whole state of Florida. I'm waiting for that moment they have like a parody of Disney World in there. Like, I'm hoping that's a thing. They have, like, missions where, like, the whole parks are there or something. I don't know how Disney will feel about that, but if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Rockstar.
It's not in Florida. This is Vice City. It's different.
Yeah, but there's always a one-for-one parody of everything. I'm just so curious to see how the characters interact and get along. And this story, because I think between, like, Michael, Trevor, and blanking on the third guy... Franklin, pulled that one out. My brain's working today. It's just about 10 seconds behind where it needs to be. Those three.
Oh, that song from yesterday.
Yeah, the relationship was very explosive between all of them, and that was the characters, and it led to a great game. But I think they're clearly the story they're going to tell in this one is going to be very different. You probably will play as two protagonists, which we think. But yeah, jumping between them three last time, and they're always shouting at each other and swearing and arguing and killing people and blowing stuff up. This one seems, I don't know if Rockstar really honing in, maybe from Red Dead Redemption, the learnings of I think they're going to tell a phenomenal story, and then the multiplayer in the world is going to be there as a sandbox to people to have fun in. So I think, if you've got a decade to sort out a script, performances, acting, the visuals are kind of secondary to that, because I think they'll do a great job, and they've always told great stories, and I just can't wait for it to see it play out. And I will say as well, these two main characters, they're going for sexy motherfuckers out, the two of them as well. They're not pandering to any kind of agendas or anything here, Richie. It's just straight away, these two are some hot people in a steamy relationship, and she jumps on them about 10 times in the trailer. She does, to get it on. So interesting to see. Vice City, it's going to be hot. Moving up to somewhere else hot, Richie, that I want to touch on, because there's a little bit of a take on the channel, is I want to talk about the Mafia, the old country, because we get a bit, not stick, but there's a bit of a joke ongoing at this channel because of the Stadia days and Mafia never quite making it fully, and me giving Hangar 13 stick on Twitter and stuff all the time. They had an open event at PAX East, I want to say, this week, where they did an hour-long presentation focusing on just the details of Mafia, the old country. If you don't know, this takes place in the 1800s, early 1900s Sicily. So it's a prequel to the whole Mafia thing. The Sims came out and said, though, they're ditching the open world, which traditionally Mafia's been looked at as a Grand Theft Auto clone in a lot of ways. They're ditching that for a more linear story-based game. And I think... I listened to the hour-long presentation they did, and they were speaking about getting to know the characters, getting to know the families that they reside in, and the dynamics of what made the foundations of essentially the Mafia. And everything I'm seeing from the trailers to the main protagonist, Enzo, it's got cover shooting mechanics. This looks like if Uncharted was set in Sicily, and the way they're really honing in on the character's performance, they introduced a couple of the mocap actors to do the work from it. And just everything they were telling me about the visuals, they've made the jump to Unreal Engine. This might be the first Mafia game I get day and date. And not only that, Richie, the price, it's less than £50 as well. It's coming in at $49.99. So it's the price point's sweet, the visuals look great. I've never really been to a Mafia game because I think that open world has put me off. But if they're saying they're honing in on story, character, rich environment, and linearity, that's doing it for me.
I've never been into a Mafia game. I've always kind of looked at them. Maybe this is an unfair way to talk about them, but I did look at them as almost like a double A GTA clone. Mm-hmm. Obviously, different setting.
Yeah.
With this more focused on the Italian mafia rather than just the criminal gangs of basically America. But I think I do like the change in direction for the series. It is now, because I was not interested in this game at all before this news. Because I think now it's redefining what the game is in a good way.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I think in an era where game developers talk about overgrown budgets and never-ending production cycles, I think it is quite refreshing to see them go actually, you know what, let's focus in, tell a story that we want to do, new location, same premise, but just talk about the money and crime and what you do for family. I think the main character Enzo, I think he works in the mines in Sicily, and then something happens where he gets brought into this Mafia family, and because he doesn't have any family of his own, he's almost brought into this fold of what would you do for quote unquote family? What limits are you willing to push yourself to? Is it murder? Is it crime? Is it whatever? To do the right thing, and that traditional Mafia line of the Godfather of between respect and honor, family virtues, and just seeing the origins of that starting out. But if they do it with Uncharted, duck and cover shootout sections, a bit of exploration, finding collectibles along the way in a beautiful Unreal Engine world, in a sun-baked Sicily, and similar to when we've been praising Ghost of Tsushima and stuff and Shadows. Sicily in the 1900s as a part of the world and time that I've never really explored. So it's got that historical intrigue that for someone like me, I think is really, really ticking a box. And
yeah,
I'm excited for Mafia, guys.
For me, it comes back to sometimes like, is the Mafia games, are they open world because that open world design suits the game, what they want to do with the game, or is it just a case of that is a trend in gaming that they felt like a tick box? Is the game better served by making it linear? I feel like this might have been the question they've asked themselves for all country, when they probably went, you know what, if we make it linear, it's going to be smaller, we can focus more on how the game feels to play, improve the quality of looks as well, have a lot less assets to handle, and make an overall better polished game. And reality is, not every game needs to be a massive open world, 50 to 100 hour experience.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of huge diversity in games. The more diversity in gaming, the better it's an art form. I want to see big open world Ubisoft style things, and I also want to see like tight linear narratives as well.
Yeah.
And everything in between.
Yeah.
And it's like, what serves the game best? And it's why I feel like sometimes, I know it's a business, but I think sometimes the business wins out over the creativity, where they focus too much on marketing trends.
Yeah.
Which is where I think things that Concord is the perfect example of that. That's a game that was pretty much came out of a bunch of marketing trends slapped together. They made a game and it died because no one was interested. Mafia the Old Country, if it was an open world game, it probably wouldn't look anywhere near as good as this. Still look decent. And it'd be so many comparisons to Grand Theft Auto, I think it just would have been lost in the mix.
Yeah.
Going linear, going a linear narrative, keeping it tighter, I think now it has a place to stand in that crime genre alongside Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they've had like 3 cracks at the whip in this style now. And I think when they said they were doing another Mafia game, I just felt like the franchise had ran its course. And I think if this
was my initial thought when they announced it, you're just doing another one.
Yeah, if this was just another open world one set in a different era with like go to mission point A, go to mission point B, kill these people, do this, repeat, it would have just felt like, right, I'm just totally not interested. But then the fact that everything they're telling us about it going linear makes me think like, oh, they're trying something different. And if I care about Enzo at the end of this game, that's it. And they said a lot in the conferencing that when Enzo is going to be a character who's going to live in the pantheon of not mascots, but characters who like you'll think to when you think about video games. And I was like, you're saying the right things here, Hangar 13.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I think it's worth noting it's actually had very prominent location within PAX. Like Greg Miller, who from Kind of Funny, former IGN, was the keynote speaker from PAX, and he also hosted the Mafia panel.
Yeah.
So there's something here.
Loving it. And won't have to wait too long. £44.99, I should say, as well, not 49, so it's a couple of pounds cheaper. Even again, get on Amazon deal. I reckon you could pick this up for 40, I reckon. Give or take an Amazon deal there. Speaking of mascots, though, as Enzo might be the new one, we've got a date for the past one being revived. That is GeX, the legendary. Hashtag Save the Gecko, Richie. We did it. The GeX Trilogy from Limited Run Games is coming back. The series brings GeX Enter the Gecko and GeX 3 Deep Cover Gecko coming later on this year. It's got a date of June 16th. So I say later on this year. It's about just over a month away. It will be coming back. Featuring all sorts of up-res from frame resolution to slicker, smoother views. Looking forward to it. I would have looked at getting the physical one, but they're asking for like 35 quid, and I'm like,
it's $39.99 dollars.
The classic edition stuff looks great. The disposable income is what I'm looking for, really. But yeah, we've got a date for it. Can't wait for it. Hopefully, it's a decent. I'm worried it might just be like a cash-in remaster of them all, but we'll have to wait and see. We've got a couple of bits of news stories just to get out of the way as we round out the show today, Richie. Death Stranding 2 has gone gold. Hideo Kojima and Kojima Productions tweeted out saying the journey begins as we work our way towards June 26th. The pre-orders are up for digital editions and early access on Death Stranding 2. And more importantly, a lot of content creators out there and influencers got about 30 hours hands-on time over the last couple of days. Where are you sitting with Death Stranding 2? I know neither of us have really checked it out. It's one of those games that I think I'd really enjoy. and I'd be excited for 2. But I think because I missed out on number 1, it's kind of like a void.
See, I didn't play number 1, but I also don't feel like I've missed out on it. I've never seen anyone adequately explain why you should play Death Stranding. What makes it so special? Without using words Hideo Kojima. Because I think he's an amazing developer.
Yeah.
But I want to know about the game, not the person who made it. And that's why I've kind of felt with the first Death Stranding, all the marketing was focused around him, not the game.
Yeah, it was
and as far as I can tell, you just walk from place to place.
Well, there's
I don't get what the game fully is. It might be a game I need to experience, but I'm just not interested.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It does seem like a lot of praise, though, for this one, because I think Death Stranding 1 was very much like you either love it or you hate it scenario from a lot of people. I think those who've played it were like, oh, it was my game of the year. It was definitive. I've heard loads of people hype up, cannot wait for the sequel. And then others who played it just like, I didn't get it. It was just like Amazon delivery driver simulator. So I think one of the days I'm going to have to get around to this. I was tempted when they did the director's cut, and I think I just didn't have the time. Because again, it's a big open world game. The sequel takes place in both Mexico and Australia using the chiral network that the protagonist from the first game, which is Norman Reedus' character, helped create. It's now being taken over by the automated porter assistance system. Effectively, the character's job has been replaced by AI. Kojima being very topical again. Some big features of the new environments include great emphasis on weather, with rain leading to floods and heavy winds blowing you off course. You'll need to use fresh technology to help with your delivery missions, with everything from your backpack to vehicles being customized. Many sites, similar to Eurogamer, are describing this as a Metal Gear Solid to Metal Gear Solid 2 style upgrade. The foundations were established in the first game and have been dramatically extended upon here. Combat has been completely redesigned and it's channeling Kojima's past tactical espionage action adventures in all the right ways. Gunplay against both humans and nightmarish BT monsters is much more rewarding, and there are great opportunities for stealth and new approaches. There's even camps to clear out in the open world, much like Metal Gear Solid 5. And the elements of online connectivity remain the same. It goes on to talk about like performances and stuff are really, really good, but it seems to me like it's a better version of the original with like kind of everything cranked up a notch. But I do feel like I need to play the original.
But that's what I'm expecting though from it.
Yeah.
But I don't fully understand the point of what the game is from the original.
Well, it says in there,
I don't understand where the fun comes from in it, or is it just an artistic piece?
I mean, there's obviously this beautiful world with these characters, because you've seen enough from the cutscenes, right? Of like the rain ages people, and there's the babies they got to save, and there's the dead whales on the beach, and then there's all these eccentric boss fights that you have. But ultimately, between all that, you are trying to transport presumably resources from A to B, while not getting time melted with the rain, not coming across these characters. And I guess you have more combat now. I think there's probably something really satisfying, like a power wash simulator where you just do something so minimal, like delivering a parcel or cleaning a car outside that's covered in mud. And it's got enough quirkiness and, let's face it, stunning beauty, because the Decima engine looks beautiful, to just kind of blow you away. I
feel like it's probably the reason that we're struggling to define it is it's probably very an artistic game. Probably similar to like the Midnight Walk, where that's very an artsy game. Yeah. Where you kind of need to experience it and embrace yourself in that world to kind of get it. Journey is probably a perfect example of something like that. Yeah. Mechanics of Journey, very simple, really, but such an amazing experience. Yeah, indeed. It's more of an experience rather than a game. Yeah. That's where I think I probably do need to play Death Stranding at some point. I mean, we both. I feel like I want to understand why, and I just don't right now. Yeah, part of me is like, yes, I want to get on it, but then at the same time, Metal Gear Delta comes out in like a few months, and it's like a known quantity, and I know I like it, and it's like they're making all these comparisons about Metal Gear 1 to 2, and it's a bit more like Phantom Pain, and I'm like, could I not just go play them? Then? Yeah, that's where I'm at. I was like, I wouldn't mind playing Phantom Pain again, but I'm very interested in playing Metal Gear Delta. Yeah, where do you start? There's too many things. They also did announce a special edition DualSense that came out. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a bit of a it's not, but it's a lazy attempt. It's basically they took a black DualSense and put some orange Death Stranding motifs over it. I think apart from the Astrobot one, that's what most of them are now. Yeah, says Death Stranding on the back.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
Could be worse. And then final news story for the week is Sackboy, Richie. The beloved mascot Sackboy. Sacked Boy, indeed. This is reading from Eurogamer. It feels like Sackboy, once the beloved mascot of the Little Big Planet games, is slowly getting sidelined by the PlayStation brand. This follows last week's screening of the Until Dawn film adaptation, which has been released in cinemas from PlayStation Productions. And as you know, they have like that Marvel-esque introduction at the start that shows all the characters from across the timeline. Familiar faces like Uncharted's Nathan Drake, Ratchet and Clank show up, Astrobot is there now. Sackboy is now absent from the lineup, where he usually had a prolific image about probably a halfway through point. Just before this, you see the Gran Turismo screen when that movie came out. It seems like they're trying to phase him out. I don't know why he would get rid of him, but essentially, yeah, he's no longer there. Where he would stand at the front and wave next to Ratchet, he's no longer in it. And it seems like something
a case of that they've moved on from him.
Yeah, but why would you get rid of him? I don't feel like leave. Like, you paid someone to actively take him out of that video.
Maybe it was just a case of it was they were going through the refresh of it anyway, and they were going through like what characters should they keep, what should they go. I don't feel like they would remake this purely to take Sackboy out, but if they were like doing a refresh, if it was time for the refresh, then when was the last time Sackboy game came out?
Well, exactly.
Sackboy's Big Adventure 2020. So it's been 5 years, and if there's no plan.
Yeah, well, again, Sackboy's Big Adventure was the PlayStation 5 launch game, and that was done by Sumo Digital. It wasn't done an internal, so I don't think there's any studio in the wheelhouse currently. If Sumo Digital are working on Gears of War, like we said at the beginning of the show, Media Molecule certainly working on a Little Big Planet game. I think he's maybe just Astrobox took his place, right?
Exactly. Yeah, maybe that's just it. Maybe they just decided, you know what, the Sackboy era is over. He was the PS3 era. Astrobot is the PS5 era.
Wow.
Crash Bandicoot was the PS1 and PS2 era.
Yeah. Let's hope they keep hold of the rights to Sackboy though, so at least in 20 years' time, when we get a Little Big Planet remaster or reboot, they don't have to siphon it off to another studio and Microsoft somehow end up owning him. We'll see. We'll see.
Weird.
Will be weird. But Richie, that does bring us to an end of this week's show. Of course, we like to end every week's episode by looking back at this day in video game history. We're recording this on May the 11th, so it is a little bit late than usual because we've had busy weekends. And some big things, Richie, on May the 11th. What are your top picks?
Well, I think the first thing that jumped out at me was the Sega Saturn came out 30 years ago.
Get in there. Launched with, of course, Panzer Dragoon in 1995.
It did indeed. Wow. And Clockwork Knight, which I've never heard of, to be honest.
Poor Sega Saturn. It was good enough, but just not quite there.
My uncle had one. I like the Sega Saturn.
My uncle had one as well, yeah.
But you know when you're just too young to realise it was a failing console.
Did we like it more because we didn't have one? So when we went round our uncle's house, it was something quirky, and that he had a couple of different games that we maybe had never seen or played before, like Echo the Dolphin.
We both spent a lot of time playing like a Sega Mega Drive.
Yeah.
And then the Sega Saturn's like, ooh, it's the next one.
Yeah. But at the same time, my head was being pivoted by PlayStation.
And the PlayStation came out a few years later. Was it like a year or two later? And you could chip your PlayStation, so your dad or your uncle always knew someone who could get your games for like £2.
Yeah, it was same year, 95.
Same year,
yeah.
95,
so that'll have been like my parents will have made that decision of like me and my brother have a Sega Mega Drive at the moment. They love Sonic, they love playing it. This new one's out. Do we get them the next one? And they'll have made that decision of like, there'll have been a pivot point.
I'm not sure why we made the decision to go on 64. Yeah. I don't regret it.
I need to sit down and have a serious conversation with my parents about like what, because I'm going to have those decisions with my daughter.
Yeah.
In like she's 2 now. In 3-4 years time, like she has a Switch. I'm going to give her my old Switch when I get the Switch 2. And I'm going to, as a parent, I'm going to have to make an informed decision about what generation does she like. We're always going to have them all in the house, I guess, because of me. But our parents will have sat down and went, because I don't think we'll have asked them. I don't think we were old enough to go, Mum, Dad, I want the new PlayStation because I wouldn't have had a clue what it was. There was no adverts. I had no TikTok algorithms feeding me this information. So they'll have went, right, what's the hot thing at the moment? What's in the Argos
TV
catalog?
ads, Argos catalog, that was it.
But why PlayStation instead of the Sega Saturn? Because at the time there'll have been like no reviews saying like, oh, Sega Saturn. They went, mum and dad went buying gaming magazines and reading.
You know what? You probably is. You probably wouldn't have got it on launch. So by the time your mum and dad you were asking for a games console or decided to buy one, your dad's probably already knew the guy who could get them like copied versions.
A couple of guys at work, yeah. Oh, my kid's got the... Yeah, all it is that there was probably one gamer at my dad's place of work who was like, oh, I've got a PlayStation. It's amazing. They've got Crash Bandicoot, they've got this, and like, yeah. And then the rest is history, as they say. So yeah, the influences we have. Any other games from this date, May the 11th?
Well, we talked about Doom earlier. 9 years ago on PC.
All right, PC release, yeah, I get it, I take it.
Which is weird. But
27 years ago, 1998, on May the 12th, we got the original Gran Turismo on PlayStation. Huge one. PlayStation's biggest selling franchise of all time.
Tears of Kingdom, 2 years ago today.
Wow, 2 years already.
Yeah, that's May the 12th. But yeah, 2 years ago.
Wonderful stuff. And then... yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, it's pretty much it for me.
These days, wonderful. But that brings us to an end of this week's episode of the PlayStation. I was going to say PlayStation Podcast. GamerGuild, the PlayStation Podcast.
This week's on Talking the PS.
Talking the PS.
X-Pass.
X-Pass. Sounds of Stadia. We have no more news to talk about.
No listening.
So, oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. Less said, the better. But that brings us to an end for this week's episode. Thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you kept in the loop with all the great content we do here, like our live streams, like our weekly episodes of this show, and the Clickercast. Don't forget, if you are watching along with The Last of Us, you can tune in to watch me and Richie break down every episode in every character, spore-size detail, the gaming differences, where we think it's going, the drama, the tension, the death, everything in between. Do go check that one out because we do enjoy doing it, and we're running on 3 more weeks left until it's all finished and wrapped up and we get back to gaming with you. But we couldn't do this without your wonderful support, so shout out to our members. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everyone listening on free feeds out there, and have a great week. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been GamerGuildTV. Thank you very much for watching, and of course, everyone, remember, play whatever makes you the happiest. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.